Welcome back to part 2 of this webinar series. Thank you for coming back. If you haven't done so, please like, subscribe, share, and also comment below. Thank you. Okay, so just moving on to the next thing. So right here, I have with me Mr. and Mrs. Rapley. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. Thank you for coming online to share your experience with bride and grooms on here. Dwayne, I know it was your birthday yesterday, so thank you very much. Happy birthday once again. Thanks for spending that time of your birthday weekend with me here. So Dwayne and Rapley, I'm going to leave the floor open for you to just talk to our people on your experience with your wedding. How did you find planning for, I think it was about 250 to 300 guests, and then, you know, shifting it down to 30 guests. So yes, Mr. and Mrs. Rapley, welcome.
Thank you. Want to go first?
No, you're good.
It's always me going first. Yeah, so we got engaged in 2019, and then we had in mind that we were gonna plan for a year and then have our big Sierra Leonean and Jamaican wedding in May 2020. And then all the plans were fine, you know, we'd finished majority of the planning. January, we were ready, like, yeah, a couple months to go. And then obviously there was the announcement of the pandemic, and we just thought, oh, okay, well, we should be all right, you know, May should be fine. And then obviously a nationwide lockdown. So I remember just being sat there looking at Dwayne thinking, and I was very much like, yeah, we could probably still be okay, you know, May should be fine. And Dwayne was like, we need to have a contingency plan. And I didn't want to hear it because, you know, everything was falling into place. Yeah. You know, we were so happy, we were so ready to start our lives together. So I wasn't really like, no, we don't need to, everything is fine. But then we kind of got struck with the reality that actually it may not happen in May. So we started to, you know, align ourselves with all our vendors, contact our vendors to let them know they were obviously well aware of what was going on, because it was, as much as it was affecting brides and grooms, it was affecting vendors as well. Yeah. And we just basically looked for an alternative date, thinking, yeah, August will be fine. Yeah, you know, everyone was saying, yeah, by April, everything will be fine or whatever. So we pushed everything back, and I just think, you know, by God's grace, we were able to align with all of our vendors and move to another date. Thinking that we'd be able to have our 250/300 people wedding in August. And then obviously we're in lockdown for how many months, and then we were patiently anticipating whether we'd actually get married in August. And then as August came, prior to that, Boris had obviously put a ban on weddings, so we didn't really know if we were going to get married, but we said, let's keep August anyway, just in case. And then when weddings were allowed, they were like, yeah, 30 people. And we just thought, 30 people, like our bridal party alone was what, 18, so the two sides, 18, and then our immediate family, and, you know, all our family abroad who'd like booked their tickets and stuff. So it seemed like virtually impossible at the start, isn't it, to get down to 30 people. But what we then said was, okay, on our actual day, we'll do just like a blessing on this new date that we have. And we will have our bridal party there, our parents there, and Dwayne's godparents. And we got up to our 30, and that 30 had to include the registrar, the photographer, not the staff employed by the building. So we kind of had to work our way around getting that 30. But then an alternative also was that we could live stream it. So we basically live streamed it on YouTube, and I'd say we ended up having more people attending our wedding that day. But the plan is we've postponed our celebrations until next year. Originally it was like, okay, let's look at April, but with the latest update from the government saying that we'll be sort of under tight restrictions for the next 6 months, we're now in a position where we're like, okay, let's sort of not, you know, put a date early next year yet, because we may not be able to reach our 250, 300 guests. So the plan is to, you know, later on next year, God's willing, we'll be able to have like an anniversary celebration and celebrate like that. So, yeah.
Well done for everything you've done. I mean, it was really tough, but you've made that decision, and that's what I was saying earlier. You made that decision to have your blessing with 30 people.
Yeah.
That's what was important for you. You just wanted to get married. You know, there's some people who still want to wait for their celebration and not doing anything at all. But you and Dwayne agreed to do that. Between yourselves, it was an agreement, and you're both happy with it. Look at you here now. You are Mr. and Mrs. Rapley, regardless. You know, you're married. So next year, like you said, you can make that as your 1-year wedding anniversary. But again, we don't know what's going to happen next year. We're hoping and praying that things will get better. But like I said, variable element. Don't know. You've had to move your wedding day like 3 times now, haven't you?
Yeah.
So be prepared for that in any situation. If you're planning a wedding on here now, be prepared that you might have to change date. And you know, the venue that you wanted might not work. For your 30 guest blessings, you did at your church, and then you moved to the back of your garden to have the celebration, and that worked well for you. I mean, that's the picture we're displaying right now. You look happy, you look beautiful. So yes, well done. But I don't know if you had the challenges I was discussing earlier on. Would you say whilst planning your wedding, any of this happened to both yourselves?
Because you mentioned about sort of like knocking heads and having disagreements like during the planning. I think the lockdown sort of heightened it, isn't it? Like, it heightened it a lot because there was just more tension, more frustration. Like, you know, we both want this day to work out, but we're both upset. We're both almost like grieving in a weird way because we have this big special day where all our family's going to get together. So in a similar way, we had days where we just said, let's not talk about the wedding. Let's just go for a walk. You know, let's do our Boris recommended 30 minutes of exercise and just go go out. But did you want to talk about the finance element?
I mean, that was a bit of a struggle because we're so dependent on what the government's saying. What we think they might mean from what they're saying as well. So trying to understand what the best thing to do is, trying to almost look into the future and bear that in mind for the decisions that we're making when it comes to moving things on and talking to our vendors and seeing what their availability is like as well. So for me, I mean, approaching the wedding anyway, I was like, I'm not gonna just leave it all to Shiv to take care of. I want to be able to have an active responsibility in managing some of it. So for me, I was like, Shiv can have whatever she wants, but I'm just, as long as there's a budget attached to it, and as long as it's within the budget, she can run around and I can oversee it. So,
that's good.
Yeah, so managing it on a financial point of view, I was just like, anything that we decide has to be looked at with strong consideration. We have to figure out what the options are and then pick out the best option based on whether we can afford it financially and whether it's still a possibility, whether it's legal and stuff like that. So it's just a lot of considerations that we took, because we didn't want to, as much as it is our wedding and we're emotionally attached to it, we have to kind of make sensible decisions, especially during this time, to make sure that our guests are going to be safe, that we're going to be safe, that we can sit back and be like, this was the best decision of our lives and we made it work for us at the same time, not getting persecuted for it. So
that's such a great point. You know, let's not get carried away with the celebration. We have to think about the health and safety of our guests, of yourself as well. I mean, you don't want after your wedding people saying, oh, I'm sick or anything like that. So it's always good to bear that in mind. But yes, thank you very much. So Mr. and Mrs. Rapley will still be on here. Should you have any questions, just drop them in the Q&A box and then we'll be able to answer them after the session. So thank you, Dwayne and Siobhan, for coming on. I'm just going to invite our next beautiful couple, Mr. and Mrs. Salvo. You know, with this couple, I was so taken aback with them, with their courage and their boldness for going ahead with their wedding. Their wedding was in Italy. They got married in Italy more than a month ago. And I mean, I'm sure most of us on here have been following the news. Initially, when the lockdown started, Italy was one of the countries that was affected the most. So when I saw this couple, get married in Italy, I was like, wow. So yes, Mr. and Mrs. Sabo, thank you for joining us today. So please do share your experience, around planning your wedding, how you were able to deal with your wedding planning and getting yourself and your guests in Italy. So thank you, welcome, and thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, thanks for having us. Can you see us?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. We're still taking it in because it was a lot. This whole period with COVID coming in up, as we know, it's affected a lot of people and their weddings as well and other things. Gosh, where do we start with this one?
What, this year, I guess. Okay, so I guess, well, we got engaged in like 2018, so towards the end of 2018. Actually, the end of 2018, and then we started the planning from January last year, 2019. So everything was going smoothly, and all we had to deal with was the stress of family and all of that. And then 2020 hit, and 2020 hit, and okay, things were going a bit steady, and then March, end of February, March became a nightmare. Italy was all over the news, and it just seemed like, what is going on, like what are we gonna do, so we didn't actually conclude on what we were going to do until like very later on, till like June, because we're still watching it. But then some of our guests were saying, oh my gosh, are you guys okay, what's gonna happen? We're just like, we don't know. And also I was sharing with Toby that as Christians, because we're Christians, our instructions from God was that we were going to get married in 2020, and the date that we had picked and everything was set. And so it was seemed quite impossible, because Tim had shared this with me like when
2018
that we're getting married in 2020, this is what God said to him. So when all of this was happening, it was just like
that's what we had, isn't it?
Sure?
That's all we had to go on.
God, did you really say that, God?
Oh, that always comes up. When everything's coming at you, whether it be thick or fast, or you just see the mountain ahead of you, it's just like, all right, Italy's got this the pandemic has hit not only Italy, but it's hit a lot of countries. Like, God, are you sure? Then we had to just continue to speak life into it and continue to remind each other that this is what we believe in God for, and this is what our marriage will be founded upon, that we only will rely on God only. So
so a lot of prayers definitely went into from like March. Well, I mean, even before, but hardcore prayers started last year. That's in March, and just being positive and just trusting. Literally, as we were saying, like, it was for us, it was like walking on water, because we didn't actually know where we were going, what this day was going to be like, if it was going to happen. We were just walking blindly, and it was so blind that people around us were just like, what are you guys doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, our parents as well, like, this doesn't make any sense. What are you doing?
Well, you did it.
And,
you did it.
So, at the end of the day, it went through, and not only, we were only hoping for that one wedding, but we ended up having our traditional, and it was a whole nice event, our registry, it was a whole nice event, and then going to Italy, all bang bang bang. So we were super grateful to God that in the pandemic we ended up having 3 weddings.
Wow.
Italy was like the icing on the cake.
Well done. That's very beautiful story. Very beautiful story. So, well, again, I'm not sure if you had some of the challenges I shared. Did you face any of that? I know you mentioned dealing with families. So did you have to deal with a little bit of challenge, or challenges whilst planning your wedding?
Whew. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, and so I take that a lot. Okay. Well, so they do happen. I mean, it's just to so that it's just a point that yes, these things do happen. But you know, you are here today. Looking at your pictures, you look beautiful on your wedding day. I mean, I was caught to those pictures. That's why I reached out to you. That you looked amazing. Nobody would know that you had any challenges, but it's just about how you overcome those challenges. And again, it's about you holding on to what you want, what you've said to yourself, what is it for your wedding, and you still did it. So yes, well done. And congratulations once again, Mr. and Mrs. Sabo and Mr. and Mrs. Rapley. You both got married getting up to 2 months now. So yes, well done for doing it. So, you know, to all the brides and groom on here, this is just to show you that anything is possible. You can be celebrated, you can have your wedding. Looking at these pictures, they look happy. They live together now, they're husband and wife. And that's what matters. The life after the wedding is what matters. So yeah, we've got 5 minutes now to the end of the session. So we're just going to take some questions quickly. So, you know, should you have any questions for myself or for the couple, please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, or if you want to speak. So I'm just going to look at the questions on here. Okay, first question. Do you think that if I had a small wedding now, that the excitement for a big party in future after COVID would fizzle? I mean, I'm going to throw this to both of you, Mr. and Mrs. Sabo and Mr. and Mrs. Rapley. No, seeing that you've done your small wedding, well, I think maybe I'll do it for Mr. and Mrs. Rapley, because Mr. and Mrs. Sabo, you're done with your wedding celebration now. So for you, you've done the small wedding, and now that you're looking forward to next year, do you think that excitement would fizzle, or would you still have that bubbles in yourself?
I'm still excited because we put a lot of planning and a lot of effort into it, and you know, our bridal party are equally as excited. You know, on our actual wedding day this August, it was very small, intimate. You know, we told our bridal party, you know, don't wear your suits, don't wear your dresses. So when we do celebrate, it will be like a big excitement party, so on and so. Yeah. Dance battles, you know. But I don't think that the excitement will fizzle, because it's yeah.
Thank you for that. That answers it. So if you're on here, if you're thinking of having a small wedding and celebration later, it won't fizzle. So for this question is for Mr. and Mrs. Sabo. How many guests were you originally expecting, and how many did you have at your wedding?
Should I take this one?
Yeah.
We originally max looked to have 120 max, but then we had half of that. We had 60.
Okay, that's the work. But with that 60, did you have to cut it down, or did you just have guests that pulled out?
No, so thankfully, we in that part of Italy, which was in the south, there was hardly the COVID cases were not as much as in the north. Okay. And plus another perk was that all our wedding events were outdoors. Yeah. So initially, I mean, we didn't change anything. So the venue was quite open to us just having our original numbers, which was 120. Yeah. But the problem on our side was that some of our guests were still a bit iffy about Italy, which was completely understandable. Then the children, I mean, we were supposed to have what do you call it? Well, flower girls. Flower girls, that's it, yeah. So the flower girls' parents and them, they couldn't come either. So things like that, due to school and stuff. So for different reasons, mostly COVID, some people decided not to come, but joined us on the Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, Zoom. Yeah. I mean, that works well. I mean, what I was going to say as well is technology is the way forward now. You know, the celebration you're going to have now, we're moving, even with the current guidelines of 6 months lockdown, you can still go ahead with the 15 and just move into technology. You know, Zoom, like we're doing now, or have FaceTime, WhatsApp, anything, and just have that, you know, incorporated into any event that you have. But yes, it's beautiful to see 60 guests is still doable. And that's the other thing, you know, as a planner, if you're on here, any bride and groom, and you're looking to get married and you're so unsure, you know, we'll be able to put you through how this can happen for you. Like Mr. and Mrs. Salva just said, they had 120. The venue was willing to go ahead with 120, you know, outdoors, socially distant. So it's possible, it's doable. Just last question. Any challenges when planning your wedding abroad? Mr. and Mrs. Salvo, any challenges? Maybe if you just share one quickly.
I think more so that because you're not in the country, you have to solely just rely on your wedding planner to communicate on your behalf and make sure what you envision for the wedding is actually being communicated through. So whereas it wasn't so much of a challenge, I think we were very favored in that sense that my darling wife has a very, very creative very creative skills. So whereas like all of the things that you saw, to me, if you asked me colors, I would be purple, blue, red, simple. When she was coming back to me with colors, I was like, eh? But at the same time, she managed to get the message across to the wedding planner effectively, and that's where we were fortunate to have a beautiful wedding. So in that sense, it's just making sure you're on top of things.
Yeah, I won't say that we had major challenges. Our wedding planner spoke both perfect English and Italian, which was quite helpful. We wanted an Italian wedding planner, just for ease. No, they made everything quite smooth for us. It was, you know, I can't think of any major challenges except for the uncertainty with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because, okay, actually, I remember that. So because we literally found out in July this year that our wedding could go ahead. And so having a destination wedding, having 2 months to sort of start planning again was very, very hectic, and put everyone's emotions at 100%. So I think that was the major challenge, because we had such a short space of time. Financially, it was a headache. Just planning everything was a serious headache, because it was like, you know, start, you know, and it was non-stop. So I think that was very, very hectic and challenging. And also another thing, Italy, they have in that part of Italy, they have a very slow culture in terms of, you know, life is good, why rush, you know, don't take, you know, why are you rushing, why are you taking your time? So when you send an email, like my wedding planner will chase up on different things, and they would come back to you like 2 weeks later. So things it seemed quite rushed and last minute. A lot of the things, because they just take their time. So that was a bit frustrating, and but it was fine. I mean,
you were able to overcome everything with the help of the wedding planner.
Yeah. In the end, it was all fine. But coming from London, where everything is rush, didn't do that. I was on edge, especially thinking that, oh my God, the flowers were not sorted until like 2 days before the event.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, or even 1 day. So my heart was all over the place. But yeah.
I think destination wedding on its own, it's a whole new topic on its own, talking about destination wedding, but I'm glad you were able to overcome everything and you had a beautiful day. So yes. Well, thank you very much, both Mr. and Mrs. Rapley and Mr. and Mrs. Salvo. Thanks for taking your Saturday afternoon and spending it with me and with everyone on here, every bride and groom on here. I'm sure everyone in here has been able to take away one nugget of information today. So we've come to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much, everyone. So the next webinar is going to be on the 19th of December, 2020. So like I said at the beginning, this is going to be a webinar series that I'm going to be running myself every month. That will be discussing, sharing nuggets around planning, wedding planning event. So the next one, the topic is going to be, should I hire a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator? Because that's one question that everybody gets asked. What's the difference in a wedding planner and a wedding coordinator? So on the 19th of December, we'll be discussing this. More details to follow on registration and how to join. So thank you all again. And if we have anyone on here, if you don't have a wedding planner, or if you're thinking of planning your wedding yourself, regardless, I'm still available to navigate your wedding planning challenges with you. So please do reach out on the contact I'm sharing on the screen now. My telephone number is there, my email address is there, Instagram page, any way you want to reach out, please do feel free to reach out anytime. And I'll be able to navigate those challenges with you. On the call today, so I'm going to offer a special discount to anyone planning their wedding or planning an event. I'm going to offer 10% discount of any of my fee. So if you're on here and you're getting married, you're having a birthday or bridal shower, anything, 10% discount for you today. So thank you all very much. I'm going to leave you to go and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Rapley. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Harper.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.